cultivating that sense of gentle observation without judgment. Maybe noticing the depth of your breath or the rhythm or what sort of movement comes with your inhale and your exhale. And bringing your awareness back to the sense of your back body resting on your mat or your props. Notice if when you breathe, is there any change in the sensation at those connection points? Is there a change in pressure, in weight and texture as you inhale and as you exhale? And then if you're not there already, slide your left hand up to your low belly, and then we'll slide right hand toward heart center. Beginning to expand and deepen your breath. As you inhale, imagine gently lifting those hands up. And as you exhale, relax and those hands gently draw in. With each cycle, maybe imagining you could inhale a little more deeply and exhale a little more slowly. And letting go of breath control. And then if you landed with the knees bent or with props under the knees, we'll slide props out of the way as needed and send legs long on the mat. So legs together, knees straight, heels reaching toward the bottom of your mat, or maybe the top, depending on how you're laying. And then we'll slide the hands up overhead and find a full body stretch. Stretching through the fingertips. Stretching through the toes, reaching everything away from center. And then begin to slide the heels in toward the glutes. We'll lift the knees up to find knees to chest pose. Bring the hands around to the knees or the shins. Squeeze those legs into the belly. Keep squeezing those legs into the belly and then lift head, neck, shoulders, bring nose to knees, squeeze everything into a little ball. And then beginning to relax shoulders, neck, head. Bring both your hands over to that left knee or shin. Squeeze that left knee into the belly. Bring your right sole of the foot down to your mat. Squeeze that left leg in a little further and then start to slowly slide your right leg long on your mat. Straighten the knee, rest it down. Release that squeeze on the left knee. Point the sole of your left foot up towards your ceiling. Slide your hands around to your left hamstring. And with that back of the left knee nice and long, heel drawing towards your ceiling, toes pulling back towards your shin. See if you could invite that leg in a little closer to the belly. Release the hands, point the left toe, bring that ankle directly back over the hip, so toes pointed straight up towards your ceiling, and circle the ankle a few times one direction. Circle the ankle opposite direction. And release the hands, bring that bent knee all the way back into the belly, slide the right heel in, bring that knee into meet, squeeze both those knees in. Gently lift, head, neck, shoulders, nose to knees, squeezing everything in. Relaxing shoulders, head and neck. Single side knees to chest pose. Squeeze that right knee in, send the left leg long. Release the squeeze, release the hands. Heel points to the ceiling, hands slide to hamstring with the back of that leg growing long. Heel reaching, toe pulling towards shin. Draw that leg in a little closer to belly. If you've got that leg drawn in close to the belly, release it so your ankle's over your hip again. Point the toe, circle the ankle one direction. Switch directions. Draw that bent knee back in toward the belly, release the hands. Left leg slides in, hands to knees or shins. Squeeze the legs in, lift head, neck, shoulders, nose to knees. Relax shoulders, head and neck. Guide the knees toward the armpits. Point soles of the feet to the ceiling. Find happy baby. Take hands to hamstrings, outer edges of the feet, or peace fingers to big toe. Gently draw down on one side, rocking that direction. Release, draw down on the other side, rocking that direction. Rock a few more times side to side on the low back. And finding stillness in the center. Zip those legs all the way together. Knees to chest. Bring the right arm up overhead. We'll roll over to the right, find fetal position. Cradle the head on the right arm. Pause in that fetal position. Take a full breath. And then using the support of that upper arm, start to slow press up toward a seat. And we'll find either an easy pose or one leg in front of the other. Oh, I have moved my meditation cushion. What did I do? It must be upstairs. So grab whatever props you have. Lift your hips as much as you need to find that comfort in the low back. And then again, easy pose, ankles crossed or one leg in front of the other. As we did on our backs, just creating a little movement in the pelvis as you really imagine rooting those sits bones down toward your floor. Finding a long, gentle spine, soften shoulders fully away from the ears. Take a little more length to the back of the neck. Fully close the eyes, or if you like, just soft gaze. And then with hands resting as is comfortable, or left hand low belly, right hand heart center. Take a moment to notice the difference of your breath in seated as opposed to lying on our backs. And gently releasing the hands, blinking eyes fully open. Whichever leg is unfront,
on front. In front or on top, we're gonna switch. So legs are opposite. We're gonna tent the fingers of the left hand, take those fingertips to the earth just outside the left hip. We're gonna send the right hand high, palm facing to the left. We're gonna gently press those left tented fingers down into the floor. Rock your right hip more firmly into your mat or your prop. Send that right hand overhead, palm facing the floor. Stretching all through the right side. And then start to lift back through neutral. We'll sweep that right hand down. Tent the fingers of the right hand. We'll press those fingers down into the floor just outside the right hip. Bring left hand high. Press those fingers down. Rock that left hip more firmly into your surface. Reach left hand overhead. Switching, coming back to the first side, staying with those tented fingers if you like, or coming down onto a flat palm. This time we'll walk or slide that left hand a little further away. Still keeping the right hip rooted down, but this time not so firmly pressing it down. Keeping the hips more or less centered, even. Slide or walk that left hand a little further away. A little further away. And starting to lift up through center. Right hand comes down, tented fingers or flat palm, lift the left and walk or slide. Left hip stays just as heavy as the right. And slow lift. We're gonna pause at the top. Keep that left hand high. Lift the right hand up to meet it. Shoulder distance between the palms. We'll come to a twist to the left. Lower the hands down. Let that right hand draw across center and come toward the outer part of your left thigh or knee. Left fingertips can tent to the floor behind your hip. If you're down on the floor, maybe palm comes to the floor behind your hip, or maybe you bend the elbow and rest the hand or the forearm on the low back. And then we'll take a few breaths. Each inhale, lifting your crown a little further from your tail. Each exhale, either resting in your twist, or if it feels good, twist a little further. Inhale, lengthening crown. Exhale, twist. Starting a slow unwind back through center, we'll lift both hands and then find your twist in the opposite direction. Deciding what variation feels best for that right arm, left arm, drawing across center, maybe coming to the outer thigh or knee. Inhale, draw the crown long. Exhale, pause or twist. Slow unwind towards center. Lift the hands for a moment. And then we'll lower the arms in front of us. So fingertips are pointed directly in front of the shoulders. Soften the shoulder a little bit so we're not pulling those shoulders up into the ears. And then we'll cross left bicep over the right, coming toward our eagle arms. Bend the elbows, let the back of the arms and hands draw toward one another. Back of the arms and hands touch one another, or all the way around, palms touch one another. And then wherever we landed, we're gonna gently press those forearms away from us. Reach fingertips up toward the ceiling. See if you can find a stretch between the base of the shoulder blades. Slowly unwind those arms, reach those fingertips long in front of the shoulders, soften shoulders out of the ears, cross, right bicep over left, bend the elbow, back of the forearm and hands reaching for one another, touching one another, or palms together. Press forearms away, reach fingertips high. This time, unwind fully, let the arms relax all the way down beside the hips and give the arms a little shake or take a little shoulder shrug. And then we'll rest the right arm wherever's comfortable for a moment. We'll bring the left arm low out to the left side, thumb pointed down toward your floor. Bend that elbow, rest the back of the hand or the forearm across the low back, and then pressing that hand or forearm into the low back. Imagine drawing your left shoulder toward the space behind you, and then rotate your chin out toward the top of the right shoulder. Slowly rotating, gaze back to the front. Slide that left arm out, give it a little shake or take a shoulder shrug. Resting left arm wherever's comfortable. Right arm out, low to the ground, thumb pointing down. Bend the elbow, slide that hand or forearm in. Press into the low back, draw the shoulder toward the space behind you. Rotate chin toward the top of the left shoulder. Slowly bringing gaze to the front. Release that right arm, move it in any way that feels good. Let that hand rest down to the leg for a moment. Lift long through the crown of the head. Bring the right ear toward the right shoulder, keeping the left shoulder nice and heavy. So as soon as it starts to pull up into the ear, we're gonna come back just a little bit. We're gonna keep that left shoulder nice and heavy. We're gonna slowly bring the right hand up. Bring the fingertips toward the left temple. Slide that hand down a little bit. So just the weight of your hand, not pulling, but just letting the weight of your hand gently draw into that temple and maybe find a little more sensation in the left side of the neck. Sliding that right hand all the way back down. Slow roll the chin down to the chest. Slow roll left ear to left shoulder. pause, check in. The right shoulder tried to crawl up in the ear. We'll let it relax back down. Left hand gently sweeps up. Find the weight of that palm gently resting down toward the right temple. Slow release the left arm. And roll chin to chest. Take a few half neck rolls, side to side. If you like, take a couple full circles one direction, other direction. Let the chin fall all the way to the chest. Pause. Think about growing a little longer in the back of the neck. And lift the gaze all the way back up. We'll send the heels out wide, but keep a bend into the knees. So if you're on a seated prop, feel free to stay there for now. So imagine wide seated forward fold, but keeping a bend into the knees and with the toes dangling. And we'll reach the hands around toward the space between the thighs and start to come over to a rounded forward fold, sliding or walking hands away, coming all the way out or down till you start to feel a little stretch or sensation maybe in hips or legs or low back, and then beginning to create a little bit of side to side movement, swaying belly into one thigh and then the other. Notice if you create that side to side movement, does it allow you to come a little further into that fold or maybe not? And then keeping that little side to side swaying movement as you go, start to slide or walk yourself back toward neutral. And then if you're on a seated prop, option to pop down onto the floor, or if you want, stay on your prop. We'll come right down onto the sits bones and the heels long, straighten the knees, point toes toward ceiling, trying to lift toward that long spine here. Hands back toward the space between the thighs, and we'll fold first with a neutral spine. So starting to draw that heart forward toward the space between the feet, pausing just before you start to round through your spine. And then melting over into a rounded fold here, sliding or walking those hands a little further away. Head, neck, shoulders, melting down. If you have props handy here and you want to prop up your forearms or your head, go ahead, grab block, bolster, whatever you like. Supporting yourself in a way that you could relax down into this wide forward fold for a moment. Beginning to slide back up toward long spine. Releasing props if you've got them. Slide or walk those hands in, lifting the crown all the way over the hips. We'll keep the left leg long and bring the right heel in toward the groin. That knee can just be hanging out in space, or if you've got a prop and you like, you could tuck a blanket or a block under that knee. Trying again here to lift toward that long neutral, and then we'll twist the heart toward our extended left foot. Bring the hands onto that left thigh, or walking hands along either side of the thigh, coming right into a rounded fold. Walking or sliding those hands out, softening through the spine. Belly coming into the thigh, head drawing toward knee. If it's in reach, it feels good. Hands or a strap, if you've got one, could come all the way out to that left foot. Or again, if you've got props here, you want to grab a bolster or a blanket to support the belly, or blocks to support your forearms or your head. Taking a moment, resting down into this head to knee pose. And starting a slow release, lift back up toward neutral, setting any props that you're using aside for a moment. We'll come all the way back to long spine. Turn the heart back toward the front, and then we'll take a little twist in the opposite direction. So left hand coming across center line, back toward outer thigh or knee on the right. Lift long through the crown, and then twist, twist, twist the heart to the right. And unwinding back toward the front, we'll slide that right leg long, left heel in toward the pelvis. Adjust, grab any props you like, and then twisting to the right, hands on the thigh, either side of the leg. Props if you like, your version of head to knee pose. Rounding through that spine, melting head toward knee, supporting yourself however you like. Slow lifting our way back up. Rotating the heart back to the front and then opposite direction. And we'll bring that right hand across, gently pulling into that leg. Lift through the crown, twist to the left. Slow unwind. Lean back just a little, plant fingertips or palms to the floor behind the glutes. Bring your left heel out wide, keep a bend into the knee, slide your right heel in, seated windshield wiper the legs. And lift the knees. Choose one leg, slide that heel over to meet the opposite side. Tuck your heels back towards your glutes and walk yourself around to tabletop. So find normal shape that you would in tabletop, but then tuck both of the toes.
press into the hands, rock hips back toward heels. We're looking for a stretch to the toes, bottoms of the feet. You may feel it a little higher up in the legs. If you can rock all the way back, hips to heels, and you haven't found much of a stretch, start to lift yourself back up until you can bring your right hand back on the same side. Grab onto those right toes, pull them in closer to your knee, set them down, and then do the same thing on the opposite side. Then press into hands, press hips back toward heels, looking for that little bit of a stretch if you still can't find it. Walking hands in toward knees, lifting torso up over the hips, letting the weight of your body sink down toward those feet. Whew, that's a little much for me. And then starting a slow lift back toward tabletop. So if you're up and kneeling, go ahead and starting to plant your hands, starting to walk forward. We'll come all the way to tabletop long enough to untuck the toes. Send the hips back toward the heels and lift into kneeling or hero pose. So looking for a stretch to the fronts of the thighs, quads. So for some of us, we'll be sitting hips right on heels. Some of us will want to grab something and place it between hips and heels, so we've got less of an angle in the knees. Or if you've got a block, grab block or a couple of blocks to stick under the sits bones. If you're all the way down, hips to heels, you don't have much of a stretch in the quads and the knees feel comfortable. Option to lean back a little bit, bring fingertips to the floor behind the toes, and walk yourself back until you do find a stretch for the quads, making sure that those knees don't start trying to lift up off of your floor. And taking one more breath here. And then starting to make your way all the way back to tabletop. Sliding or walking the hands out, scooting any props you were using out of the way. And then from a nice grounded tabletop, take a big inhale, exhale, round your spine. Find a cat stretch, thinking about spaciousness across the backs of the shoulders. Pause and take a full breath. And then lower the belly, open the heart, lift the crown and the tail. See if you can find a little stretch maybe to the fronts of the shoulders or maybe the abs. Pause, take a full breath. And taking one more each direction, pausing for that full extra breath cycle, feeling that stretch. And after that full breath in cow, we'll come back through tabletop and then bring the hands forward to come down onto our belly. So lowering yourself all the way down, hands under the shoulders, elbows pointed toward the back of your space. Pulling elbows toward the back of your space, lengthening crown away from the rest of the body. Use an inhale in the low back to lift and find Cobra. And then activate the palms, slide them out. Elbows land under shoulders, forearms connected, nice wide finger pads, fingers pointing toward the front of your space. Pressing those fingers down, pulling them back toward your hips. Imagine lengthening the sternum, pulling ears away from shoulders, pulling crown away from shoulders. Sphinx pose, pause.
Beginning to slow lower head, neck, shoulders, softening up the connection at those arms a little bit so you can slide the hands back under the shoulders, pressing the hands down, knees stay connected. Lift up through a half plank shape. Pull your hips up and back a little through tabletop. Send the hips to the heels, find child's pose. Pressing into the palms, lifting, table. Slide the hands out again, slow lower, back down onto belly. Hands under shoulders to start. Elbows pulling toward the back of your space. Lengthen the crown. Use the low back, lift to Cobra. Activate the palms, slide them out. Find Sphinx Pose, hands pressing down, hands pulling toward pelvis. Long through the front body. Pause here, or if seal is in your practice, low back's feeling good, slide the hands toward the corners of your mat, lift the elbows. Still nice wide finger pads pressing down and subtly pulling toward hips. Thinking about long through the lumbar spine rather than crunched in the back. If you're in seal, go ahead and lower through Sphinx. Lower all the way down, slide hands back under the shoulders. Pressing, lifting, half plank. Tabletop, child's pose. And bringing a side bend into your child's pose, picking a side, walking hands over toward the side of your mat, lifting that inner hand, reaching it across the outer wrist, and then releasing down to that side. Slow walking hands back through center. Pause in extended child's pose, really actively reaching or sliding your hands toward the top of your mat. Then find your side bend, second direction. Crossing the wrists and surrender. Walking hands back towards center of the mat, activating the palms, pressing up, tabletop. Take a cat stretch and a cow. And from tabletop, we'll slide the left hand in under the belly. Turn that hand palm face up, coming toward our thread the needle. So left hand slides under right armpit. We'll bring left shoulder and temple down onto our mat. Or if you like to bring the floor a little closer here, shoulder and temple come down onto a prop. And then if you like, you could either walk your right hand out toward the top of your mat, or you could sweep that hand or arm up onto the low back and imagine twisting your right shoulder open a little higher toward the ceiling.
If you're in a bind or extended, go ahead and bring that right arm back under the shoulder. Pressing into that hand lift. Slide the left hand back. Tabletop. Take a cat and a cow. And thread the needle, second side, right hand sliding back under the belly, turning it palm face up, reaching under opposite side, shoulder and temple coming down onto your prop or down onto your mat. Check in this side. Do you want to add anything different for the left arm? If you are in a binder extended, go ahead and bring that left hand back under the shoulder. Use the support of that hand. Press. Find tabletop. Take a cat and a cow. And then keeping the hips aligned over the knees, walk or slide your hands out to find puppy pose or melting heart. So again here, if you like, props to support your belly, support your head, support your chest. As you come down, you could take a block or a bolster to support forearms or forehead. Rest forehead onto forearms, rest forehead onto stacked fists. So make it yours, whatever feels like a nice good release for the back and shoulders. And starting a slow lift, supporting yourself coming up in whatever way you need, eventually sliding or walking those hands all the way back in. Find your tabletop and pause and take any movement that feels good here. Could be another cat and a cow, could be a side bend, could be a twist. And then when you get those wiggles out, we'll come over onto our back. So if it works for you, just flop right over onto your back from here. If you need to switch up your orientation on your mat, go for it. And coming all the way back down onto our backs and back to knees to chest pose. Taking both those bent knees all the way into the belly for a moment. Pause here, or if you like, lift head, neck, shoulders, nose to knees. And if you lifted them, go ahead and relax shoulders, head, and neck. Take the left sole of the foot down to your mat. Place the right ankle on the left thigh. Lift those legs in towards your belly. Find your figure four stretch. So hands to the hamstring or maybe to the shin. If you have a strap, you could grab a strap here, or maybe those legs are just drawing in, or maybe you have the sole of your left foot on a block. Checking in with that right knee. See if you could imagine gently pulling your right knee away and then pulling your toe back towards your shin. Slow release, left sole of the foot back down to the mat if it's not there already. And then we'll let the legs fall over for spinal twist. So bring your arms out to a T. Let those legs fall to the left, sole of the right foot coming towards your floor on your left side, or bring the floor a little closer with a prop, letting those legs fully soften and let go. Letting both shoulders fully soften and let go. And then if it feels good, bringing the gaze out past the right shoulder. Surrendering fully to this spinal twist, soften the whole spine, hips, legs. And starting to slowly lift the legs back up. And then we'll find a little twist to the opposite direction. So keeping the right ankle on the left thigh, heel toe that left foot just off the left edge of your mat. And then let your legs fall opposite direction, left thigh falling toward the center of your mat. And letting those legs and hips soften, spine soften. Gaze could stay toward your ceiling, or if you like, you could bring it out to the left. Slow lifting the legs. Heel toeing that left foot back in line with the hip. Unwind that right foot, and then before we go to the second figure four, just choose a pose in center, something to help you find balance in the spine and hips. So another knees to chest, a bridge, windshield wipers, happy baby, full body stretch. And then if you're not there already, knees to chest, both bent knees drawing in toward the belly, head, neck, shoulders relaxed, or lift, squeeze into a little ball. Moving toward your second figure four. Right sole of the foot comes down for a moment, left ankle finds right thigh. Lift the legs, maybe hands to hamstring or shin. Left knee gently drawing away, toes drawing back towards shins. Releasing right sole of the foot down if it's not there already. Arms out to a nice wide T. Legs fall to the right. Sole of the foot comes toward the floor or your prop. Releasing the legs, hips, spine, shoulders. Maybe turning the head out to the left. Slow lifting through center. Heel toe that right foot toward the right edge of the mat. Legs fall opposite direction. Right thigh falling towards center of the mat. And letting the legs soften down. Hips, spine. Keeping gaze to the ceiling or bringing it out to the right. Slow lift the legs. Bring the right foot in. Unwind the left. And again, pause and take a shape here. It's a reset, recenter, find balance, whatever feels good. And then finding your way, maybe meeting where we started, flat on your back, half corpse, supported corpse. As you soften down into this last shape, bringing awareness back to those points of connection. Feeling the weight of the body, pressure of tissues on a mat or prop, difference in textures of what you may be resting on or in. And with a few easy breaths, imagine creating even a little more softness. A little more melting, a little more letting go, letting the whole body be fully at ease. Letting the breath be soft and gentle, and letting the mind rest.
Bringing a gentle and conscious awareness to the sense of the breath. Beginning to softly expand the inhale. Slow the exhale. A couple more deep inhales. Slow exhales. And beginning to invite movement back in the body. Sliding heels in, bringing knees all the way back to the chest, squeezing those knees in. And then choosing one side or the other, rolling over to find fetal position. Using the support of your upper hand, slow press, find your way back to an easy pose or zazen, one foot in front of the other. And one last time, rooting down through that foundation, gently lengthening the crown, softening the shoulders, softening the gaze. Scanning through the physical body, noticing how you feel at the end of your practice. If you like, maybe checking in with emotional, mental self at the end of your practice. Maybe noticing the state of your nervous system. Setting the intention for anything you'd like to take off of your mat out into the rest of your day. And if you'd like, sweeping hands overhead, palms meet, drawing hands gently together at heart center. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, thanks for taking time out of your evening to spend with me.